Number 1. Two men were driving through a deserted road in Malaysia at 3 a.m. in the morning. As they approached a bend, their headlights illuminated a figure on the roadside, a woman dressed in a red abaya. Her back turned to the light. Though the sight of someone walking alone at that hour was unusual, the red abaya is a common enough garment in Malaysia, so they initially dismissed it as nothing more than an odd woman walking along the roadside in the middle of the night. However, as they continued driving, the woman's presence became increasingly disturbing. No matter how fast they drove, she kept reappearing at the roadside, her form flashing in and out of the darkness like an eerie specter. The men grew more anxious with each sighting, realizing that this was no ordinary woman. They were encountering something beyond explanation. Their fear reached a peak when the woman suddenly appeared in the middle of the road, directly in their path. They were forced to hit the brakes and reverse, the headlights casting long shadows as they tried to find a way around her. With no other choice, they carefully drove past her, barely managing to avoid her as they sped away, hearts pounding. Number 2. Myrtle Sarosa, a well-known model and actress from the Philippines, had an eerie encounter while on tour in eastern Samar. She and her crew were navigating a desolate, unlit road when their dashcam captured something spine-chilling. A small, phantom-like figure appeared in the middle of the road. But according to Myrtle, what they saw with their own eyes was even more unsettling. The dashcam footage showed only a vague white blob, but to them, it looked like a young child, around 10 years old, with a ghostly pale face and wearing a bluish-white shirt. As concern gripped the group, they debated turning back to help what seemed to be a lost child. But their tour guide quickly shut down the idea, warning them that this road was infamous for child ghost sightings. He insisted they leave the road immediately. Could this have been a desperate spirit lingering from a tragic past? Eastern Samar was ravaged by a devastating typhoon that claimed the lives of many children, making Myrtle's story all the more believable. Some might suspect it was a publicity stunt, but given the area's tragic history, it's hard to dismiss the chilling possibility that Myrtle and her crew came face to face with a restless soul, forever wandering the dark roads of Eastern Samar. Number 3. On January 17th, 2020, a man was driving through Orlando, Florida, when he had a chilling encounter that he would never forget. The road he was traveling on is known for being desolate, stretching over 10 kilometers without a sign of civilization until it reaches the next town. Along this isolated route lies a 200-year-old cemetery, adding an eerie atmosphere to the already lonely drive. For much of his journey, the road was as empty as expected, but suddenly, out of the darkness, a figure appeared, a cloaked figure dressed entirely in white, slowly making its way along the roadside. The figure's movements were unnatural, almost as if it were gliding rather than walking, giving the impression of something not of this world. The sighting occurred just as the man was passing by the old cemetery, a fact that only deepened the sense of unease that washed over him. The man couldn't shake the feeling that the cloaked figure was somehow connected to the cemetery, a spectral presence that had wandered from its resting place. The combination of the figure's ghostly appearance, its unsettling movements, and the proximity to the ancient cemetery left little doubt in the man's mind that he had encountered a ghost. Number 4. In 2015, a man was driving through the quiet, early morning roads of Ukraine at around 4:30 a.m. As he was driving around a bend, he saw something that forced him to slam on the brakes. A ghostly figure of a woman, dressed in a full-length white gown, standing in the middle of the road. The moment the car came to a halt, the dashcam began to glitch, the screen flickering wildly, as if it couldn't fully capture or process what was happening. The distortion of the footage added an even more unnerving layer to the experience, as it seemed like the technology itself was reacting to the presence of this ghostly figure. The glitches persisted as long as the apparition remained in sight. Then suddenly, the figure vanished. The dashcam, which had been malfunctioning the entire time, returned to normal as if nothing had happened, leaving the driver in a state of shock and disbelief as he sped off to get as far away as possible from what he had just encountered. Number 5. In this eerie dashcam footage from Russia, a large truck on the road suddenly swerves, narrowly avoiding a collision with oncoming traffic. What's particularly strange is that the truck seems to swerve to avoid something that isn't visible on the road. The dashcam captures the truck veering sharply, but the path ahead appears completely clear. Just as the truck regains control and drives on, a figure inexplicably emerges from behind the truck, walking calmly away as if nothing had happened. The video becomes even more unsettling when you slow it down. As you watch closely, it becomes evident that the truck's path is empty right up until the very moment a pedestrian suddenly materializes out of thin air. It's as if the truck had passed right through this mysterious figure, who then simply appears and walks away without a trace of alarm or injury. The uploader is convinced this is evidence of a ghost caught on camera, and assuming this video isn't a product of CGI, it certainly raises some chilling speculation of what the person or figure might have been. A ghost. The way the pedestrian appears so suddenly, with no indication of their presence before the truck swerve, defies any logical explanation other than it is a ghost. Perhaps of someone that had an accident and lost their life on the same road. Number 6. A person was driving down a 4-lane highway late at night, the road mostly empty except for the occasional passing car. As they cruised along, their headlights caught sight of a figure standing on the other side of the road, wrapped entirely in white. At first glance, it appeared to be someone trying to wave down a ride, possibly a hitchhiker or someone in need of help. The figure's arm seemed to lift in a gesture that could be mistaken for a friendly wave. But as the driver got closer, something about the figure seemed off. There was an unnatural stillness to it, a sense that something wasn't quite right. Then, just as the car was about to pass by, the figure did something impossible. It lost its form. The human-like shape transformed into loose cloth carried by the wind, floating upwards and moving to the other lane in an eerie, otherworldly manner. The driver's heart raced as they realized that there was nothing beneath the white drapery. No body, no substance, just an empty, floating shape that defied all logic. Number 7. In 2017, a man was driving through the quiet streets of Malaysia in the middle of the night. The roads were empty, and the only sounds were the hum of his engine. As he rounded a corner and prepared to step on the gas, something caught his eye. A figure sitting eerily still in the middle of the road just ahead. The sight was unnerving, as it was clearly out of place at such an hour. The figure seemed almost statuesque, unmoving. Instinctively, the man hit the brakes, his heart racing as he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. The figure remained motionless, an ominous silhouette against the dimly lit road. Realizing the unsettling nature of the situation, the man decided not to take any chances. He quickly shifted into reverse, putting distance between himself and the mysterious ghostly figure.